Hi, everybody. Day 1443, and I know it is late again, but it just can't be helped. Let me check to make sure that everything is working, and it looks like we are on and live. Thank you. Good evening. We have so much information today because of all of the evidence. We have so much evidence and we have to go through it with a fine tooth comb. And oh, things that Richard has left us, um, also reports, also open records. And I've been reporting, and I should start the way I need to start every time. And that is, this is day 1443. 1,443 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. We do not have his remains. And everything, you know, when that kind of happens, we have a Vanessa Guillen situation, right? Where you're murdered on Fort Bliss or murdered on Fort Hood, murdered on the military installation, and there's no remains, that the remains have been removed. This is happened in Vanessa Guillen's situation. And what did they not want? Another Vanessa Guillen situation. Why? Because they had another Vanessa Guillen situation on their hands. And so I'm going to lay that out for everyone tonight. It's very important. And, you know, the motive, what is the motive behind it? We have new information on that. Thank you to Team Find Richard Halliday, to, I should say, Justice for Richard Halliday, Justice for Richard Halliday now, Team Justice for Richard Halliday. It's just everybody has been working so hard, and we just want to let you know that we are very grateful. Um, and, all of this is coming together uh, in an extraordinary way. All of the motives are coming together, okay? And it's really not going to be the topic, the LLCs, the motives behind the murder of Richard, um, is not really going to be the topic for tonight. That's coming because we want to make sure that we dot all of our I's, cross all of our T's. So, because it's very, very important evidence and information. Tonight is really about the canine again. It is also about with the motives that the perpetrators of this capital murder crime had. What were they trying to do? What was their goal? And their goal was to silence, okay? And that's very, very important for the next steps. They wanted to silence witnesses and whistleblowers. And of course, you see that very clearly since Richard's case is part of the Vanessa Guillen's, situation. Also, the Walmart mass shooting case, uh, and the criminal activity that was happening there on Fort Bliss. You have to look at everything, and to me, they were absolutely trying to silence Glendon Oakley Jr. I think that is very, very clear. And they will do it in such a terrible, vile, vulgar way, harassing way, bullying way. And, being such a young man, I just can't even imagine. And the same thing with Richard, being so young. And, this group is like a sexual cult group, so they will use vile and vulgar, um, and their existence seems to be, in existence with the sex cult, okay? And my mind is in a lot of different places, so please bear with me, and it all makes sense. When Richard joined the army, he volunteered to join the army. He was very excited about joining the army, even though we didn't want him to. But he had such a high esteem for the military. And that's why he had this very close relationship with my father, with his grandfather, because, my dad had such a high esteem for the military. And so he was just very excited and did very, very well. So well that he became the Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in basic training and also in advanced individual training, and received 3 AAMs, Army Achievement Medals, very quickly, very early on, and was promoted before his peers very quickly, and was planning to go green to gold. And that was not his suggestion. He wanted to go CID, right? He wanted to be an investigator. But his leadership were trying to get him to go green to gold. And when he got to El Paso, when he got to Fort Bliss, he was deployed very quickly to Qatar. We say Qatar, some say Qatar. I'll say Qatar, Qatar. Um, and while he was in Qatar, he told us, it is so bad. It is so bad. Okay. And we knew what he meant by that, because one of the reasons why one of my arguments to him to not join the military is that the morality was getting in the way of defending the United States. Okay? That the lack of morality, the acceptance of the lack of morality was getting in the way of defending the United States. And I want to say that very gently, and I hope everyone understands, because as a parent, we want our children to be decent people, caring people. And in our family, being a Christian family, a law-abiding person. That's very important to follow the law, because we understand that the law protects people. And it is also a deterrent for criminal activity. And the law enforcement agencies that we have are there to deter criminal activity, right? When they present new agencies to us, law enforcement agencies, and the taxes that that it would cost in order to have these new agencies in place, it's not because they're going to collect all the criminals and prosecute them, right? And document them. That is never their argument. Their argument to have their agency is to keep us safe, to deter the crime from even happening, right? And, all of these safety regulations, all of the rules and laws that we have, it is to deter criminal activity, to keep us safe. And Richard clearly told us that it was lawlessness. Okay? And it was a morality lawlessness. And, because, and I don't know if I should even get into it, but we know that when we are up to no good, we hurt people. We hurt people. We hurt their mental well-being because there's a lot of betrayal. We know that we hurt them because even criminal activity starts to happen, and we hurt people. And I would say theft and false witness is just as bad as, the whole thing, this whole thing, betrayal is theft, right? And so absolutely there was a huge, huge problem in Qatar. And so much so that Richard, and if you've been with us for this whole time, you will know this, but I'm going to remind or tell everyone this. He asked for a transfer. Okay? He wanted out of Delta Battery 143. There was he said he would go to a different battery. Delta Battery, which is Dallas Hart, right? Which is Micah Brown, which is David, oh gosh, what is that captain's name? It'll come to me. David Park. It is Jay Paulin. It is Michael Ruggiero. Their leadership was so bad that Torgerson was another name that came up that Richard said was so bad. Not me, Richard. And it was so bad that Richard wanted out of that unit in Qatar. He was new. There was no El Paso there. This was Qatar. There was no Ukraine there. There was no Afghanistan there. This is very, very, very wealthy. Very wealthy. Even you could, if you're a soldier, you could even drink. All right. This is very privileged Qatar. Very privileged area. No need to dodge bullets or bombs or what did Rob have to, the bombs that are on the street, that would come through the bottom of the vehicle until they had to do the armor-plated vehicle. Yeah, I remember lots of different stories. One with Rob with his bagpipes. With my dad. My dad was even over there in charge of translators. So, and lost a lot of translators. My dad had a lot, so many of them, because they had to travel so much, and there was so much danger in Iraq and Afghanistan. And but Qatar was not Afghanistan. Qatar was not Iraq. Qatar was not Ukraine. It was not the front line. So Qatar, tomatoes, whatever. That area, 100% is wealthy, secure, not dangerous. So this was an internal leadership problem that Richard experienced. He didn't have a car there. He didn't have, these smear campaigns, what was supposed it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He was in Qatar. Doesn't work what they wanted to say, what they wanted to use to silence him. Okay? And they wanted to silence him when he got back to El Paso. And not just him. They wanted to, when he couldn't be silenced, they wanted to silence, of course, the witnesses and whistleblowers. But before that, they wanted to silence Yvonne Rosales. They wanted to silence the prosecutor. And they wanted to silence any other media. And that's where Bob Moore, why he is such a disgrace, why he is such a betrayer of journalism, right? That he, you can't even say a disappointment. He has violated what journalism is all about, right? He has disgraced it. He has violated it. He has betrayed it. The whole tenets of what a journalist is supposed to be, because he participated in the silencing of the prosecutor, the witness whistleblower. You see. Now, why would he do that? Why would he do that? Because it's a rogue group, and he's part of them. And he's made that very clear by communicating, participating with the likes of Leilani Hart, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia of the Walmart mass shooting case, Leilani Hart, the convicted criminal, adult sexual entertainer, mother of Richard's platoon leader, having sexual relations with her nephew, I guess. She calls it a nephew, another calls it a cousin. James Hart called him a cousin. Dallas Hart says, he doesn't even know this Travis dude, right? He doesn't even know this Travis guy. Which is very, very clear, because it was just lately that Leilani Hart admitted that he is a family member, and she has access to the CID Fort Bliss office, the files, to tamper with the files. And we have witness, whistleblower, official complaints. You know, we have so much evidence. We have our own testimony to the very first task force find Richard Halliday on the leaks, on the tampering with Richard's case. And, so it's the evidence is there that Bob Moore wants to rub shoulders, wants to participate in the silencing of testimony, of the evidence of the capital murder of Richard Halliday on Fort Bliss. That is another Vanessa Guillen situation. And it's very clear that he has betrayed, that he's a disgrace to the profession of journalism, because you don't silence the truth. You don't silence the truth. And you don't use other people's stuff without asking, right? You don't do that. And he knows that. And you don't fabricate stories to obstruct justice in order to silence the truth. And this is not, just like, oh, someone stole a cookie from the cookie jar, right? No, this is the murder, the capital murder of a U.S. Army soldier, whistleblower. Okay, that's very important. I could say distinguished honor graduate for basic training, or AIT, but really, think about what's really, really a violation of the law, of his disgraceful coverage of this situation, this Vanessa Guillen situation, the capital murder of a Fort Bliss soldier, young soldier, that's a whistleblower. Because whistleblowers should have even more protection. And in Qatar and on Fort Bliss, there's no excuse. He should have double, triple protection as a whistleblower and as a U.S. Army soldier. And also, he should never be silenced. He should never be silenced. And that was the goal. The goal. So, of who? The goal of the rogue group, the breakaway group from the original response team. Response team for the Walmart mass shooting. The response team, the original a rogue part of the original response team from the Walmart mass shooting, from Richard's case. Because in all of the evidence, the canine, the Boar Star canine, had a hit, a positive hit. And that positive hit was corroborated by witnesses. Thank you very much. And that information was attempted to be hidden, to be laughed at, to be um, thrown away, but legally, they absolutely had to reveal that information, and they did it in a very sneaky way, and now we have it. And it explains why on November 20th, 2020, they had to make a decision to change Richard's status. And think about this. Richard is murdered on Fort Bliss. Um, it's another Vanessa Guillen situation because the body's not there. But they know that the murder occurred on Fort Bliss. And, with Vanessa Guillen's case, it was in the arms room. Why is it in the arms room so many times? Because there's no cameras in the arms room. It's a pretty private area. And so Vanessa Guillen, was brutally murdered. Now, that's on a military installation with full funding and support of law enforcement, like Major General Donna Martin, who I'm going to put up an article, and I probably should have done that before I came on, but it's been, you wouldn't believe all the information that's coming in right now. And I want to say thank you so much for making us aware again of the article of Major General Donna Martin at that time, admitting that they failed, that the CID are failures, so much so that they have to revamp the whole CID. And what are they failing at? Deterring criminal activity, including capital murder, including the hammering of Vanessa Guillen. And I apologize, but I have to, they failed, and it's not like a cookie was taken out of the cookie jar. A beautiful young soldier lost her life brutally, and our son lost his life brutally. This is this is so serious. How in the world can they do their job of national security when they cannot secure and deter crime on their own military installation? And not just detour a cookie being stolen or a pen being stolen, or no, we're talking about that the security was so lax that the murderers felt emboldened to take up a hammer, to take up a knife, to take up a gun against their own, right there on the military installation. That they weren't deterred at all. It wasn't like they were mad and just wanted to cuss someone out. They took up a weapon and brutally murdered their own on the military installation. And then they proceeded to have time enough to devise a plan to and engage in the plan, conduct the plan to hide the remains. And in Vanessa Guillen's case, we know exactly. Now, my husband has a few words to say about what happened in that arms room and how remains were put into a pelican case. That took a lot of time, and it wasn't deterred at all. It wasn't stopped at all. It wasn't panic. They did it. And they put it in the back of a vehicle. And they had enough time to drive that vehicle off that military installation, taking the remains off of the military installation. And you have to remember, that was a huge undertaking to try to clean up that arms room. And then to discard the materials they used to clean it up. And then to take those remains, go and buy some lime, go and buy some concrete, go get a shovel, go out to the Leon River banks and dig that hole. All of this on a military installation, and then taking the remains off the military installation. All of this time going on. Where is Donna Martin? Where is law enforcement? Where is the DES? Where are the unit members? Where are the unit leaders? Are you kidding me? I'm not. This is not a cookie being stolen. This is a history, a violent act, a cleanup job, violence done to the remains of Vanessa Guillen, and CID admitting that they are failures after we pour millions of dollars? How much dollars have we spent on law enforcement in the military to keep our military safe, trained, secured, honored, cared for? And hours go by and days go by. And it's this rogue group. And and Richard then is designated because of the canine positive hit and basement evidence discovery that Richard now is designated the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier because they have a Vanessa Guillen situation, a brutal murder, and the ability to do the murder, no deterrence, no, oh my gosh, they're going to be on me if I take a knife to this soldier, if I take a gun to this soldier, if I take a weapon to this soldier, they're going to be on me. They're going, there's no deterrent. And for them to, and who are the prime suspects? Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, Leilani Hart, who has access to the CID files to the office, bragging that she runs the Fort Bliss CID, and her, is it nephew, cousin, agent there in the CID on Fort Bliss, who's giving her unauthorized access, that has training, that has family connections with mortuary affairs. Were they able to be emboldened? Yes. Were they able to destroy, desecrate remains? Yes, they were able. It was there. The history is there. The know-how is there. The ability to cover up, yes, that's there. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace for the Noosa family. It's a disgrace for the Hart family. Because it disgraces our military and Fort Bliss. And wherever the murder was, we know it's Fort Bliss. The positive canine hit reveals that there was dismemberment, that Richard's remains were removed. The evidence does not show that Richard was able to walk away. He was never able to walk away. He had asked in Qatar to be able to walk away. Give me a transfer anywhere. I will, instead of Qatar, instead of Qatar, I'll go to Afghanistan. I'll go to Iraq. And that should absolutely, and let me tell you, they know and confirmed that Richard asked for a transfer. They know. And that's very important. And that should be absolutely part of the investigative file for Richard. And that's why Bob Moore is a disgrace as a journalist, because he doesn't respond to our 15 plus requests to communicate with him, to even thank us for all the evidence we sent him, that he rather fabricates stories with convicted criminals that are unreliable sources, that are the mother of the prime suspect for the capital murder of our son on Fort Bliss, that had the absolute connections and relationships to tamper with Richard's file, to obstruct justice in Richard's case, to intimidate and silence, to attempt to silence whistleblowers and witnesses. I explain to me why Bob Moore still has his job. Explain to me. I don't understand it. He needs to find, well, at this point, he's engaged in criminal activity. So, that's what we wanted to share with you today. I think it's really clear how the Walmart mass shooting, that, stay tuned. That is all coming out in the motives. Because, we know we have a motive because Richard was a whistleblower, but we want to give you the details of that because we're getting them. And we need to be very transparent, so that the real story is told about what motivated these individuals to silence the prosecutor, to silence the whistleblower, Richard, other whistleblowers, witness whistleblowers in Richard's case, to try to silence Team Find Richard Halliday. And, I'm always in prayer for Yvonne Rosales, because she is the absolute rightful district attorney for the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. She is the rightful district attorney. And she's getting some very bad advice. I don't know. I'm guessing. Well, I shouldn't say I'm guessing. I do know because we did get a phone call from her lawyer, and the message that was left, I can tell you this much, the first thought that came to our mind was, with lawyers like that, who needs enemies? With lawyers like that, who needs enemies? Someone is giving her very bad advice. And, I'm just maybe I'm old school, but legacy means everything because eternity matters more. Remember, I told you I went to the 4th of July family picnic, and um, one of our family members had a t shirt on that said, Eternity matters more. And I said, Ooh, I need that t shirt. That's a good t shirt. That's a very good t shirt. Um, Legacy matters. And I don't know how much time Yvonne Rosales has left to respond to the crime that was committed against her and her office, which means against the El Pasoans, right? Against her district, the people that voted for her, but not just the people that voted for her, the people that she was serving, that she's meant to serve because she won the election. That means she's not just working for the people that elected her, but she's working for everybody. Everybody in her district. And someone is giving her, to me, maybe they're threatening her. I don't know. Very bad advice because she is the absolute easy, hands down. They all know it. We, have done our absolute best to get out the message to the legal community, to the law school communities, um, that Yvonne Rosales is the rightful 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and they shouldn't deal with anybody but her. At this point, because the law, the Texas Constitution, gives instructions on how to handle this situation. And because she resigned in duress, she is the rightful holdover district attorney, the elected district attorney. She has every right under the law, which matters way more than any of these people and their opinions. The law matters more. And for her legacy as district attorney, as an elected official that is supposed to uphold the law, she absolutely should come forward and take her rightful spot and start prosecuting these crimes properly. Because let me tell you, what's going on right now is a disgrace. It's another disgrace. A disgrace to the 34th Judicial District Attorney Prosecuting Office. So we need a prosecutor in there. She should pull up her boots, put on her full armor of God. Confession is a cure of souls. It does not matter that she was I don't want to say forced, but under duress to put in her, and I don't even know if she even signed it totally, her resignation. There's a lot of questions about that. She needs to make it clear, or it's up to her. But it doesn't, it clearly, with our open records, with the disgraceful journalist Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, who is funded by El Paso Community Foundation, right? And they're supposed to be charitable. They're supposed to be for the hearts and souls of El Pasoans, right? Um, and it doesn't look like that's happening. And then with the likes of Justin Underwood, who, we're absolutely made aware of through the open records that he was totally up to no good, even broke the gag order in the Walmart case because he was an ad litem attorney in the case. And, where's Judge Madrano looking somewhere else? It's so political. It's not about the law. It's all politics with Judge Madrano. So, otherwise, he would have absolutely pointed out that Justin Underwood broke the gag order and was up to no good in the petition to remove Yvonne Rosales. To what? To silence her. To silence her. That's the intention. Okay, so what does that mean? Their intention was to silence the law. They don't want to hear from the law. They want to silence the law. And now you understand why the cases are botched. That it's not just Richard's case. It's not just the Walmart case. It's not just Yvonne Rosales' case or Bill Hicks's case that is botched. It is the law has been silenced. The law is muzzled right now. And that's why it's so important for Yvonne Rosales to take her rightful position. And activate, unprison, unlock, unmuzzle the law in El Paso. And it's partially needed for our son's case. It is important for our son's case. I think the stars in their courses, I've said, nothing can stop the truth from getting out in Richard's case. And it's when the force multipliers really kick in, and they're kicking in. Because the whole point, the whole aim was to silence and control, to stop any force multipliers, any coverage of Richard's case. It's to silence it, to hide it, to cover it up. Don't let the light shine. Don't let the law speak. And so this is why there's been such a delay. This rogue group from the original response team in Richard's case, aiming to silence the prosecutor, the witnesses, the whistleblowers, and really even the canine, to cover it up so that nobody knows that the canine, who now we're getting more and more information in, and we were begging for it starting November 20th, 2020, was in fact a human remains sniffing canine with previous successful hits, not a rookie canine, and had a hit that was so serious in Richard's case that caused a change of status. And fills in the gap that, like Vanessa, Richard was not kept safe on a military installation, was not allowed to change units, to deploy somewhere else, to not allowed to walk away, not allowed to, but was forcibly removed from his barracks. And we have testimony, eyewitness testimony on that. Okay. Forcibly removed from his barracks room, from his bed, to be brutally murdered. And then so emboldened that we can murder and we can then hide the remains. And the dog knows it. The canine knows it. And like Vanessa Guillen, the remains were removed from Fort Bliss. In her case, it was Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos. So much craziness there, they had to change the name of the installation. Because legacy matters, right? Fort Bliss didn't want the stain of the name Fort Hood anymore. Not because of the namesake, but because CID had failed, and the boldness of a murderer feeling that they could get away with it, that they could take a brutal hammer, that they could take a Pelican case, that they could do what they did. That they could do it. There was no deterrence, no quick response, no watch. And my dad said that. And Richard's case happened the same month that Vanessa Guillen's remains were accidentally found. Accidentally. Because the stars in their course fought against Sisera. They have no, they might have some power, but they don't have dominion. Evil people, evil entities might have some power, but they don't have dominion. And the law and the truth will win. And time. because time is law, right? Time is law. And it will win every time. And so, we just have to be, and it's very hard in this world, in this, um, in our society, to be patient and to do the hard work of seeking the truth, of seeking the law. And um, we're so grateful that God provided that for us. And it is really coming out. And something happened in a basement, y'all. Something happened. And we've got more on the motive and these LLCs. And we will absolutely let you know we will not be silenced. Bob Moore will not silence us. And, and to manipulate, use unreliable sources, the very suspects in the murder of our son's case. This is, he's not trying to silence a cookie thief or someone that picked a wild flower or maybe a flower in my garden. That's not what he's trying to silence. It is a very, very violent act against a United States soldier on a military installation and young. Not that old, it doesn't matter, right? But that's what they're doing. It's so anti-American, so cold-blooded, so anti-law, so obstruction of justice, so hurtful to El Paso, such a betrayal, such a disgrace. There is not enough words to describe the disappointment, the disgust. He's just disgusted us. And the disgust we have with El Paso Matters, allowing this, and El Paso Community Foundation, and the Army using the likes of Nick Brown Bell Nutfinger, the PR guy, and Allie Payne, not calling us yet. You would think that Allie Payne, who works day in and day out at Disney with Nick, would give us a call and say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what Nick is doing. But no. Nope. No general. She's the mouthpiece of the general, right? The first AD. Where is Major General Eisenhower skedaddling out of there? He has not responded to us since Richard was declared deceased. He didn't even offer condolences when Richard was declared deceased. He is skedaddling. You know where he's going to? To D.C., to the swamp. He wants to hide in the swamp. Yeah. After obstructing justice in our son's case, tampering with witness whistleblowers in our son's case. He's going to go hide in the swamp. And we wrote him because of the memorial for Richard on Fort Bliss. We have been threatened. We have been harassed. And we were asking Major General Eisenhower if he could make things right and make sure that the DES, Patrick, what's his name now? Patrick. Oh, I know his name, but anyway, that the security is proper, is doing their job, that he has every intention to keep us safe while we are on Fort Bliss during a memorial for our son. And he didn't even respond. And that's why these criminals are emboldened to take up a hammer or a knife or a gun and commit such atrocities on our military installations. Thank you, everybody, so much. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. And just watch Fort Bliss. Watch El Paso, because it's all coming out. It's all coming out. So the force multipliers are there. And thank you. And be part of that force multiplier by liking, commenting, sharing, praying for us, and sharing this information. Thank you so much. God bless you, and see you tomorrow.